many of you will know has been an advocate of nuclear abolition for many years. Congressman Kuciich, can you hear us?
I can, and I want to thank you for the opportunity. And I was listening intently to the previous gentleman, and I thank him for his indulgence. We have votes on the floor of the House right now, and I'm glad to be able to spend at least a few minutes with you. To all those of you who have had a strong commitment to nuclear abolition, nuclear disarmament, to securing the stockpiles of nuclear weapons, I thank you for your own commitment. As a member of the United States Congress, I am working on an initiative at this very moment to get members of Congress behind a resolution that would go to the President urging him to take steps towards nuclear abolition. I think it's really critical that we raise the awareness in this country of the dangers presented not only by nuclear proliferation, which we all certainly are aware of, but the dangers of even having these weapons. The type of thinking that produced the weapons needs to be challenged. And if we don't challenge that thinking, we're only going to see more weapons produced. The thinking is what I would call a compartmentalized thinking of us versus them, whoever they are. And in a world which has been racked by war, we need to try to find ways to stress the interconnectedness and interdependence of all people, that we're truly all in this together. If we can collectively share a vision of human unity, then it's possible, I think, for people to understand that everyone's interest is at stake in getting rid of nuclear weapons. Not just the interest of one country, but the interest of all countries. Not just the interest of a people, but the interest of all people. And so I'm proceeding in the Congress in that spirit, and with that understanding that there's support all over the world for taking a new direction with respect to nuclear technologies. And I must say that the United States has a pivotal role to play as the greatest proliferator, as the country which spends the most on nuclear armaments, as the country with the biggest nuclear stockpile, as the country with the largest destructive capacity. We have a high moral responsibility to lead in the direction of getting rid of nuclear weapons, and then the world. If we lead, the rest of the world, I believe, will be ready to follow. But if we don't lead, I don't know how any of us in the United States can have credibility on the issue. So, Eileen, I'm glad to hear any questions. I'd be glad to entertain any questions or comments.
Congressman Kuciich, thank you very much for joining us. We do have copies of your resolution which we've circulated, and I must say personally I think it's an amazing resolution. It's very simple but very direct, calls quite simply for negotiations leading to the elimination of nuclear weapons, also demonstrates that it is possible to do that. It's not just an idealistic but a very practical initiative. You quote the Model Nuclear Weapons Convention, which has been circulated by the United Nations. So it's a wonderful, I would say, a wonderful initiative. Can I start the questions by saying
Please.
How do you think people here would be able to support or increase the effectiveness of this resolution, where representatives from Canada, from the United States, and from other countries around the world, would you see like the idea of similar resolutions in other parliaments, or what other ways could people sort of elevate your resolution and your initiative?
Well, Elaine, the way I think to proceed is this. It would be helpful to have similar resolutions in other parliaments, because this is a matter of the world calling for a new direction. And if we come forward with one voice from all over the world, I think that whoever the next President of the United States will be encouraged and have the support of people around the world, but even more significantly for an American politician. The mayors in this country have a real chance to have an impact. Mayors and city councils who get involved in this issue make a difference. Communities which make statements on this and involve the people of their community, with thousands of communities, millions of people involved. I mean, this really is an opportunity for us to move to the broadest segment of humanity and get millions of people involved. And so I think as we do that, we're bound to create the shift in consciousness.
Congressman Kuciich, we have a problem in Canada which I think is the same as in your country. We have a lot of very good groups working for nuclear disarmament and so forth, with nickels and dimes. Meanwhile, our governments are subsidizing the military industries to the hilt. And in our country, although the government said no to missile defense, and George Bush said, thank you for saying no, but keep doing what you're doing. And what we're doing is subsidizing many industries. They're high-tech, high-paid, this sort of thing, millions, if not billions of dollars. How do we fight that? We've got to get that stopped. There are other things to do in our country that would really help mankind. Thank you.
That's such a critical question. You know, here in the United States, our annual military budget is about $425 billion and growing. The cost of the war in Iraq over $300 billion on to $500 billion. Every dime that's spent, and this has been said many times, but it bears repeating here, every dollar that's spent for the growth of a military takes away money that's needed for health, for education, for veterans, for housing, for the whole range of social needs. We really, it's our job to educate the people we represent as to what's at stake here. There's no such thing as guns and butter. We're finding more and more that the equation is shifting towards bigger military buildups. We have to ask ourselves, what are we so afraid of? You and I are speaking right now. This is a tremendous invention, this teleconference. It is proof of how technology brings us all together. We need to advance this awareness of human unity, how we really are all in it together, how the world is one, how we're interdependent and interconnected. This has to be something that we talk about with an excitement, because when we communicate that, there'll be no room for one nation building up arms to the exclusion of the needs of its people, or building up arms as though they're a wall against the rest of humanity, of separating itself from the rest of humanity. I mean, we're really called upon to reach out, as we're doing here, and to embrace each other as brothers and sisters. In a sense, nations melt away in their meaning. Race, color, and creed just falls away in its meaning when we realize the truth of human unity. And so there's practical work to be done there. The work has to be done in making election issues of how much is being spent for the military to the exclusion of everything else.